Welcome to Spotlight in Business. I'm Tammy Defoe, and I would like you to meet Ashifa Alibhai from AHANSA Legal and Mediation Services. She will be the guest speaker at GTApreneurs March 25th business networking event at Improve Canada in Vaughan, one block north of Toronto. So, welcome to the show today, Ashifa. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Tammy. Excited to be here today. I've been
Th-
on this networking journey and very glad to pass on my insight today.
Very good. Thank you so much. And me too. I'm really interested in this topic. It's something that a lot of business owners encounter, and it's great to get that advice, right? So,
Right.
tell us more about yourself.
Well, I wear a couple of different hats under the legal umbrella. I'm actually an adjudicator, and I'm a paralegal, and I'm also a mediator. And I come with a strong background with legal advocacy, dispute resolution, as well as advocacy in accessing justice. So I have a passion for helping people, Tammy, and I help them by navigating complex legal matters while ensuring fairness. I make sure that I find them cost-effective solutions with regards to the legal matters that they're facing. And beyond my legal practice, I'm also deeply involved with community engagement and mentorship, and I support initiatives that empower women and youth and marginalized communities.
Fantastic. That's great. And I think the whole access to justice concept is so important. It's something where, like a lot of people, we don't have like $400 an hour to pay a lawyer, and so then these other companies, like say if someone wrongs us and we want to sue somebody and they have these lawyers that they can afford to pay, thousands of dollars to kind of thing, right? That it's good that, you're really out there helping people that with the same quality of service they can get from a lawyer, but you know what? Something that's more affordable. So that way they can actually have somebody advocating for them to help them get, the resolution that they're looking for.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Tammy.
Yeah, awesome. So now, why did you decide to become a paralegal and mediator and adjudicator?
Right, right. So, my legal journey has been very an interesting one, actually. I actually started off as a project manager. That's my background. And so, that being said, clearly after school, I took on a role of a property manager which I used my project management skills, but I also understood, Tammy, that it required some, interaction between, vendors, stakeholders, tenants, landlords that required a structured solution. And
Hmm.
so, at that point, the methodology may not have been, as it is today. However, I did realize that a lot of people require some, navigating around dispute and conflict resolution. And
Hmm.
so this is exactly why I'm here today. And, I wanted to bridge gaps by, offering, this service, which is obviously very required, and focus on aspects like early resolution instead for disputes going on and on for a long time, reducing litigation costs and, make the emotional stress that comes with it. So, becoming a licensed paralegal, I also built on the legal frameworks that allow me to resolve these legal matters, right? Through
Hmm.
conflict resolution.
That's fantastic. So that's a lot you have going on there, right? And so some people like they have no idea what a paralegal does. Like if you watch the show Suits, like they just do research for lawyers and stuff like that, right? But tell us all of the different ways you can help people.
Right. So, I have been very fortunate to be able to help a wide variety of people and environments. So, I started off with working with, essentially solo practitioners that, sort of didn't have a means or ways of accessing this type of, this type of service. I worked with law firms and I also worked with mediation clinics. So, all offering them a way in which they could access this. But then it became a little bit more personal where I was dealing with, families who are, potentially elderly that are now trying to figure out a way to separate. I worked with younger families that required structure around their co parenting. I worked with small business owners that felt that they don't have a method in order to collect a debt, as an example. And now, very recently, I'm working with employers who have employees that require my assistance in trying to help them navigate through, work disputes.
Okay. So that's quite a bit you have there, right? So then, so the one thing that you're helping with is the separation agreements, like divorce,
Right. Yeah.
resolution, co-parenting, that's the one part of it. And then also if there's employment issues, are you focusing more on helping the employees or the employers?
So both.
Okay.
Obviously, it takes two parties, whether it's a family or whether it's an employer and employee, or
Hmm.
whether it's two business partners or it's two people, neighbors that are having disputes. There are always two parties.
Hmm.
So in essence, with my mediation, I have to be neutral between both the parties.
Okay.
However, with paralegal services, typically I would be, sort of working with one party to
Hmm.
protect their interests, depending on whether it's, an applicant or a respondent, or in best words, if they're a plaintiff or a
Hmm.
defendant. So I would be but as far as I'm concerned, whether I am having a paralegal hat on or whether I'm having a mediator hat on, I typically work with both parties all the time.
Nice. Yeah, I guess for mediation, it's kind of like you're bringing the two parties together, and you're kind of like the person that's kind of facilitating really the conversation because maybe when it's the two of them, they're just fighting or something like that, right? Or one's talking over the other one kind of thing, right? And that you're able to provide that third party perspective and say, okay, like one person at a time and stuff like that. So I guess it makes sense, right? You're kind of that objective third party coming in and trying to help them, deal with it because I can understand a lot of people would probably be very emotional when they
Right.
have a
And
yeah.
also yes, that's also part of advocacy because, certain people in conflict resolution really don't know what they're up against. They're having to think about different ways in which to navigate. But, when you're in a conflict, that's not the first thing that comes to you. So when you do get a third party facilitator or you get a third party perspective, you now understand what other options you have clearly,
Mhm.
right?
For sure. Yeah, and I think it really helps too, especially if, like there's one party that's more educated than the other one in the particular topic, because then they can try to take advantage of the weaker party, for example, right?
Right,
Uh,
right.
yeah, and so now like our so your whole philosophy is to keeping people out of court, right? That's kind of what you try to
Yes,
do. Okay.
that's an excellent point, Tammy, because I think at this time, foremost, all court systems are quite backed up
Hmm.
and backlogged, and therefore, uh, parties require some assistance with some help in trying to navigate solutions outside of court. And so that's my philosophy
Hmm.
from the start of my practice is how about give them the solutions outside of court, but if
Hmm.
they absolutely need to go there, I can certainly help with what is under a scope of a paralegal practice,
Hmm.
which is under $35,000.
Okay, so basically small claims court,
Yes, small claims court and tribunals.
tribunals. Okay, fantastic. So what's the difference between adjudicating and mediating?
Right, that's an excellent question. The difference between adjudication and mediation is adjudication actually requires you to actually make a decision, whereas mediation requires for you to help two parties narrow the issues and make the decisions themselves. And so adjudication allows you to also manage aspects the members of the public. Whereas mediation is between two parties. It could be private, but typically it's around, a civil, family, or a workplace, matter.
Okay. And landlord tenant is a lot of the things you help with as well, right? A lot of the issues.
Correct. The landlord tenant board falls under the scope of my paralegal services.
Hmm.
And so I've actually been very fortunate to be involved with landlord and tenant board matters since my early days in property management. And
Hmm.
therefore, that's been continuous and successful into today. And I'm hoping that, I am able to evolve as, matters have become complex and they have evolved over time. It's actually very worthwhile, and I'm very involved with the landlord and tenant board matters.
Nice. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many issues, and we hear them on the news quite a bit, right? Where either your landlord and the tenant's not paying, and you still have to pay your mortgage, and or they want to move back in and they can't. Then on the other hand, you have some landlords who are rent evicting people, right? They're saying, "Oh, we're going to renovate the house so they can kick you out," and stuff like that. So I can see how there could be a lot of issues in that area, right?
Aspects have really evolved, and it's important to realize that the bylaws and the rules around a lot of the landlord and tenant board matters are being adjudicated by different members of the landlord and tenant board, and therefore it's very important to bring these aspects into realization, and you have to provide the proper evidence in order to make your point and clear in landlord and tenant board matters.
Fantastic. And you mentioned as well that you are certified private investigator. So how does that play into your other roles?
Right. So I had actually taken on private investigation 2 years ago in order to provide me the awareness and the aid to help me with my paralegal services as well as my mediation work. And it has come so handy. It's absolutely a great decision that I made to follow through with it. So I am a private investigator. I actually managed to use it in many of the preparation of my small claim court actions, and I also use it to help people actually figure out a way and able to track people down to get their address to make sure
Mhm.
that I provide them a solution around certain areas where there isn't an easier solution.
Nice. So I could see how like a landlord who the tenant doesn't pay and then they leave. I can see them wanting to find the person. Is there any other case where somebody would want to have those private investigator skills?
Right. So the most obvious one is when you have a party that is possibly not telling the truth about a matter. It could
Hmm.
be infidelity related. It could be some aspect around not finding work, or even it could be an aspect around you not following, a medical plan through a doctor. And
Wow,
often
interesting.
people find themselves, violating an aspect. So if they're getting social benefits or a social, assistance program, and they're not telling the truth, this is when it really comes in handy.
Hmm. Wow, you cover such a wide range of topics. So I'm so happy to have you in our network as well. I'm
Yeah.
always happy to, you're welcome to refer to you. I know other people have said fantastic things about you. And before we go, can you give us a recent success story of a client you've helped?
Right. So, a recent success story was a business owner that required some assistance on, how to have a tenant pay up with a commercial lease. And
Mm.
so they were owing $24,000 in rent arrears. And so
Wow.
I was able to help that landlord, who's also a business owner, to not only track down this party and but also to manage some solution-oriented, results with respect to dispute resolution and trying to see whether, they can manage to stay out of court. This matter actually proceeded to small claims court, and about 1.5 years later, which is reasonable with court timing, we were actually able to get the party to pay up majority of that amount. So that's a success
Fantastic.
story.
That's
Yay.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. And that's all the time we have for today, Ashifa. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I look forward to March 25th.
Sounds good. Me too. Have a good day.
Thanks.